As it's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and I'm coming to you today with another exciting edition of Ask an Aquarius. Okay, so I wanted to answer a question that I got today. I got a question from a young lady, and she told me that she met an Aquarius guy. She's a Libra, he's Aquarius. And she met him. She likes him a lot. He's younger than her, but he's very attractive. He's been warming up lately, being very attentive, coming around, calling, texting a lot more than he did in the beginning. So he's, as Aquarius, we all know that means he likes her and he's starting to warm up to her. Aquarius are like that. It just takes us a while to warm up to a new lover. We're more inclined to warm up to a new friend. It'd be easier to make a new friend than it is to make a new lover. That's just how we are. So she said that he's starting to, show the signs, and she really likes him a lot. She's going through some things in her life. He's being very supportive, and she wants to keep him in her life. Okay. So she said to me, I have one problem though. And she said, he snorts cocaine and pops pills. Is this a problem? Should I just pray it away or ignore it? What do you think? Now, I'm going to tell y'all straight up. Aquarius like drugs. Straight up. Almost every Aquarius I know smokes weed. Almost every last one. Most Aquarius, or should I say, there are several Aquarius who are famous because, or not even because, they are famous in addition to the fact that they like to get high. Give you an example. Bob Marley. Bob Marley is famous for being a cannabis enthusiast. One of the most famous cannabis enthusiasts. You can Google Bob Marley at any given time and you're going to see him either with smoke or with weed in his hand. Holding it up, smiling at it, in a poppy field with it. You always going to see him in some kind of way with some weed. Okay? Famous for it. Rick James. When Rick James died, another Aquarius, I think Bob Marley is the fifth, and maybe Rick James is the fifth or the sixth. They're both early Aquarius. And Rick James, when he died, they released a toxology report. I had to see the report. As soon as it was released, I Googled it. And he had 9 different drugs in his system. And I was like, damn, Rick. 9? For real? Super Freak was getting high, okay? So it's very common for Aquarius to like drugs of different kinds. It's very common for Aquarius to like getting high, like having fun, that kind of thing. Aquarius aren't really the biggest drinkers. We do drink, but we're not that's not usually our biggest thing. A lot of Aquarius are more into drugs. So I'm already aware of this. It's just one of those things about our sign, one of those quirky things about our sign. And it's not something that I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. Weed and alcohol have never really bothered me, and this is the reason why. Alcohol is something that can cause a lot of problems. My grandfather died from cirrhosis of the liver. Drugs can cause a problem in general. My father, an Aquarius, February 2nd, his body broke down because he was using crack cocaine. So these drugs can be very, very serious. Alcohol can be very, very serious. My grandfather died from cirrhosis of the liver, like I just said. So these things can be very serious. Some people have very big problems with drugs and alcohol. But some people don't. I had a woman once accuse me of being an alcoholic. She was a crazy white woman that I friended. I didn't even friend her. As a matter of fact, I met her at an expo. She was a friend of a friend. She friended me on Facebook. And I ended up having to block her on Facebook and never accepted a person I didn't know on Facebook ever again after her. Because she would read my Facebook statuses, decided that I was an alcoholic, which at the time, I used to drink. I used to go out, have fun on the weekends, stuff like that. So she decided from me partying on the weekends that I was an alcoholic and went around telling people that I was an alcoholic. She had never had a conversation with me. She didn't even know me. I should have sued her for defamation of character, seriously, but I didn't have enough money. That's the only reason why I didn't do it, because trust me, I considered it. And she went around telling people that I was an alcoholic, and I'm sitting there like, I don't even have liquor in the house. Like, are you serious? Now, mind you, I do socially drink. I've always socially drank. I used to love those Smirnoff green apples. Used to love those. I got liquor in my refrigerator. Whenever so I entertain a lot. People come over here all the time. And when they come over, I always got vodka or rum or tequila or, something to offer them. I enjoy alcohol. I do. I do socially drink. But just because somebody enjoys alcohol or they socially drink does not make them alcoholic. And I found out later that this crazy white lady was an ex-alcoholic. So I guess that was, she was projecting her issues onto me. So the bottom line is that some people have a problem with it and some people don't. Some people truly they like to drink. They keep things some people have a bar in their house, and some of them abuse alcohol and some of them don't. So when it comes to Aquarius, sometimes we smoke, we have a good time, we drink, and sometimes we have a problem, as we can see in the case of Rick and my father. So these things can become very, very problematic. So the bottom line is this: when it's a drug such as methamphetamines, cocaine, pills, heroin, those kind of drugs that, in my opinion, make you desperate. That's how I feel about them. I don't feel like cannabis makes you desperate. Cannabis to me is a medicine. I know a lot of people that use it for depression, anxiety, people that use it for ailments in their bodies, people who have cancer that use it to be able to eat. I know a lot of people who use it in those kind of ways. I've always figured that cannabis is a medicine. So when people use cannabis, even if they use it to smoke or eat it or whatever, I think they said some people drink it in tea, different things. I don't have no problems with cannabis, straight up. I just don't. If you're of age, go for it. Like whatever. But certain drugs make you desperate. I've never had a person try to rob me for a bag of weed. I've never had a woman offer me sex for a bag of weed. I've never had those kind of things happen. I've never seen it before. I'm sure that I know that there are people in the hood who are silly, or people in different places that are silly, that'll be like, oh, I slept with him just so I could smoke up his weed or something. I've heard stuff like that. But I'm talking about desperation. I'm talking about, people who will steal from their grandmama. Those people usually are people who are on harder drugs. There is a thing about drugs. There is recreational use and there is addiction. Harder drugs, and I'm taking marijuana and cannabis out. I'm putting that over to the side with medicine. Let's deal with all of the other drugs. She said this guy is not doing weed. She said that he's doing cocaine and pills. So for me, these are drugs that can render him desperate. These are drugs that can cause problems, especially that cocaine. I know people whose whole lives have been destroyed by cocaine. Entire lives went up their nose. I had a friend when I was a young girl. I had a good friend, and she came to me once and she said that she had some cocaine. I was like 18 years old. I had never tried cocaine. I thought that cocaine was for white people, to be honest with you, because in where I came from, nobody was doing cocaine. Everybody was either smoking weed or smoking crack, and I knew to stay away from crack. I had seen people's lives destroyed with crack. I remember one girl across the street, I saw her go from being the Dow, like her body was pow, to being what they call, back then, they would tease her and call her a crackhead, Luckily enough for her, she was able to recover. About 15 years later, she recovered. But her whole, all that time span of time, she ended up having babies that were drug addicted. A lot of bad things happened to the girl during that time. So I always knew to stay away from that, So when this woman offered me, she's an older woman, and she offered me some coke, I was like, what's the harm? I'll try it. I tried it. The first time I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel nothing. She did hers, I did mine. Didn't feel nothing. Second time, didn't feel nothing. So it was expensive. So I didn't want to waste any more money on it. So I never tried it again. Well, she got hooked. That little bag, y'all, the bag was like this big. Literally, it was like that big. That little bag got her hooked. Within 2 months, she had lost her apartment and was living in a shelter. And I was like so surprised because we were really cool. We hung, and I couldn't believe it. So after that happened, I was like, ain't messing with the cocaine. So I stayed away from anything along those lines after that. Luckily, I got that lesson at 18 years old. If I had enjoyed it the way she had enjoyed it, maybe we both would have been in the same boat. I just didn't like it and thought it was a waste of money. So, I tell you all this to say that the drugs that he's using, I don't know what kind of pills they are, but the cocaine itself, the drugs that he's using are drugs that could render him desperate. And what happens when a person is rendered desperate from a drug is they start to steal. And also, when people do cocaine, I noticed this from being around them. When they come down off cocaine, when the high is coming down, a lot of them are really mean. Something about it makes them very nasty and very mean. And I guess I don't know what it is, if it's because the drug is coming out of their system or what, but it makes them very mean. Now, I know for a fact that people are going to tell me about all the cokeheads they know, all the people that do coke that they know, they have no problems. I've been hearing this for my lifetime. I had a friend, a gentleman I used to date when I was in my 20s. Him and all his friends used to do coke. And he used to always tell me how his friends were so successful. They were lawyers, they were this, they were that. And they were. One guy drove a Porsche. These guys were multimillionaires. These men were doing their thing. The guy I was dating wasn't. He was, trying to get on their level. But a lot of them were lawyers. One guy was like a judge or some shit. And they were all, I think one guy was like, some kind of business owner. They had like good money, put it like that. And he was always trying to tell me how, they did their coke, but they were fine. I still wouldn't recommend it. I never would recommend cocaine. So in your particular case, dealing with this guy who's an Aquarius and you like him, he's tooting coke and he's popping pills, I wouldn't get serious with him. I know that might sound hypocritical coming from somebody who condones, cannabis uses, because I do. But I would not get serious with somebody who was doing harder drugs. Straight up, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even date somebody, to be honest with you. I wouldn't date somebody that I knew was doing harder drugs because I know where the possibilities can lead to. Now, that's not to say that they will lead there. This person could have been tooting cokes from the beginning of time, and they could be fine. They could have a great job. They could have a nice car. They could be fine. I wouldn't chance it. I wouldn't chance it. If a person is doing something, like I said, cocaine, crack, meth, popping pills, huffing, drinking too much, like too much, I would not have a relationship with that person because I've seen too many people in these situations get desperate. Seriously. And when they get desperate, they don't care about who they hurt. They don't care who they steal from. Watch that show, Intervention. There's a show called Intervention on A&E. When it used to come on, and I used to live in Philadelphia, I was addicted to this show. It was like, I couldn't believe what was happening. And if you watch that show, Intervention, you will see what I'm talking about. Those people become desperate. They're stealing from their mama. They're selling their bodies. In some cases, they're selling their children's bodies, their belongings, whatever. They get desperate. If they have the money to pay for their drugs, they oftentimes spend all their money on the drugs. And then it becomes a problem for you because now you're in a codependent relationship and you're taking care of them. And even if they don't have a problem that takes over their life, a lot of times they're spending too much money on the drugs. And that's something y'all could be using for trips, cars, vacation, college fund, savings. So, me personally, I would not be in a relationship with a man who was using hard drugs. Now, I know that you like this man. I know that you want to be with this man. I know that you feeling him, but I wouldn't do it. Personally, I'd pray for him. I'd pray for him. I'd pray for him from a distance, honestly. Because, like I said before, this is something that has potential to become a problem. Now, if you had came to me and said he smokes a little bit of weed, he drinks, once a week, on Friday, but he doesn't have a problem. He's a good guy. He's a recreational drinker, that kind of thing. I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with that. But when you tell me that he's popping pills and you don't know how many, you say he's doing coke, but you don't know how often. You know, those things are warning signs, and they're pretty big, you know, because you don't know if his use is recreational or if he has an addiction. And that's where the problem comes in. See, people don't realize there's a line there. There's a line between recreational and addiction. There's a line there, and a lot of people got their toe on that line. So if I were you, I would disengage. I would find someone else. And I would not date people who are into hard drugs. I wouldn't do that. I might be their friend. I might be cool with them. Anything like that. But I would not get into a romantic relationship with someone who was using cocaine and popping pills all day. I wouldn't do it. I know how you feel. I know you like this guy. I know all of that. But I would not do it. So that's my advice. You don't have to take it. But I'm the kind of person who thinks about things from back deep. So I'm looking down the line and I'm like, where is this going? It's only two places that kind of drug abuse can go to. It can go to not using anymore, or it can go to problems. It doesn't typically go to, most of the time, those kinds of situations escalate, is my point. And they don't have to, because I know people are going to say, well, they don't always escalate. Yeah, they don't have to always. You're right. They don't have to always escalate. But most of the time, they do. I could name on one hand, not even using all the fingers, how many times I knew somebody and it did not. So I don't really have a lot of faith in that. So if it was me, I wouldn't do it. I would just back away slowly. He would look up one day and wouldn't be able to find me, And I know how you feel. I know that right now you're in this space. And that's another thing. You were talking about how you're in a bad space right now. You're having some bad things happen financially and emotionally. And then you're going to get involved with a man who is abusing pills and cocaine. I think that you're in a bad space emotionally, mentally, financially, physically. And I think you need someone to care about you, and you need somebody to hold on to. You need somebody to talk to. I think you are in that space, and I understand that space. I think we've all been in that space, but you've picked the wrong person for it. I know that you need somebody right now. I know your heart is feeling like, I want someone to be there for me. I want someone to talk to through this situation I'm in. I understand, but this is not the right person, because this could make your situation worse. This person could actually drag you to a worse place from what you said to me about where you already are. You mentioned that you're homeless right now. This person can drag you to where you can't get up. Right now, what you need to focus on, like I said, is finding your way up, leveling up. If I were you, I would drop this person and I would focus my mind on leveling up, getting a place, establishing myself. I know you want comfort right now. I know you want somebody to care for you and be there for you, but you doing this the wrong way, and that could lead you in more trouble. So instead of focusing on having comfort and having somebody to help you, focus on leveling up. Focus on pulling yourself out of this situation. Figure out what's going on with you, that you were in this situation. I hope that helps. Take care.